Now I want to discuss a phenomenon called disability glare. Now high contrast between an luminaire and its background can produce what we call disability glare, which prevents observation of the escape route and obstructions. Now if the floor is level, glare must be limited in the direct line of sight by ensuring the luminaires are within the glare limits in the line of sight and 30 degrees around the line of sight, as you can see here. This shows you what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Now what you will find is that the mains lighting will give a discomfort glare, whilst emergency lighting might give a disability glare. Now it's important that the glare limits must never be exceeded if the area has changes of levels. You've got to be careful. If the area's got changes of level, you don't want this glare limits to be exceeded. Now care is needed with projector and high output luminaires. Spot lamps have intense narrow beams and they can easily cause disability glare. However, if they're mounted sufficiently high and directed below the glare zone, then they are acceptable. A spot lamp unit mounted near to an exit sign would almost certainly cause sufficient glare to make the exit sign illegible. This shows you here what is acceptable, for example, when mounted at a height of 5 metres, and if mounted at a height of 2 to 2.5, then it would be unacceptable for these spotlights, as they are likely to create the phenomenon what we say is disability glare. What about the emergency light design procedures then? To ensure the system is well designed and as reliable as possible, planning is important through all phases of the project, from considering legal requirements to final commissioning and maintenance. Now, consultation between all interested parties at an early stage of the design cannot be overemphasised to avoid expensive modifications to the completed system. Now, considerable legislation and associated standards exist covering the various types of premises that involve the need to incorporate emergency lighting. Well, the first stage of system design is to gather the information needed on the project, get it all together, normally by consultation with the regulatory authority and the user. And this should cover legislative and likely operational requirements, and you've also got to consider your customer preferences. Now, the appropriate testing facilities and maintenance schedules should be agreed with the user to ensure the system is kept in good condition. Now, emergency escape routes should be established and any potential hazards investigated. Open areas larger than 60 square metres floor area or areas identified by the risk assessment as requiring lighting. You've also got to consider high-risk task areas should be identified and normal lighting levels established. You need to know what the normal lighting levels are to be able to identify what the high-risk task area lighting will be required. The exit signs always need to be illuminated to be visible at all times when the premises are occupied, so you need to identify that. Then you're looking at whether it's maintained or non-maintained signs. Well, maintained signs are required in licensed and entertainment venues and are recommended in any other premises used by people who are unfamiliar with its layout. Then you've got to determine the need for external illumination outside the final exit doors and on a route to a place of safety. Now, other areas that need illumination, although not part of the escape route, should be located. You've got areas like lifts, moving stairways and walkways. You've also got plant rooms and toilet accommodation over 8 square metres gross area, so larger toilets. Building plans need to be obtained showing the location of the fire alarm call points, the position of any firefighting equipment and your fire and safety signs. The customer's preference and operating considerations also should be ascertained. Your appropriate testing procedures and your maintenance procedures must be determined. Any other hazards identified by the risk assessment must also be considered. So what should the system records include? Well, you should have detailed design plans showing the escape routes and the location of everything in there, and a good layout of the building. It should have a location of firefighting equipment, the position of all structural items which may offer obstruction to escape. Drawings are to be kept on premises and regularly updated. You also should have a logbook and an operational manual. That's the sort of things you should have.